Basin and Anacostia. Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for attending tonight. In reference to your report of the Murray Darling Basin Water Markets Inquiry, is it a fair representation of your findings to say, quote, there is a lack of quality, timely and accessible information for water market participants? The ACCC's analysis has highlighted the need for significant improvements in the consistency and completeness of Murray Darling Basin water market trading.
Sounds like what we've found, Senator. That rings a lot of bells. It's obviously a very complex market, and it's grown up in a, I guess, it just sort of evolved.
Yep.
And water administrators have been much concerned with the allocation of water rather than the trading of water. So I think our general judgment is there's a range of things that need to be done to get the market working really properly and addressing the problems you've just correctly summarised, because it is such a fundamental market for farmers.
I haven't read your report, but one of my staff who's intimately involved with the Murray Darling Basin says it gives you A+. So.
Oh, very good, Senator. I appreciate that.
We've been all over.
Pass it on to the team.
We've been all over the basin and we've listened to a lot of people, and it makes total sense.
Thank you.
The Water Act 2007, Schedule 3, specifies that all trades should be recorded in a register of water trades. Your report notes the failed attempt by the Murray Darling Basin Authority to introduce a national water market, following which they just gave up trying. Is implementing this 14-year-old law compatible with the findings in your report about the need for improvements in water trading data transparency?
I'm going to pass to Mr. Betsy, who's the person most familiar with this.
If I understand your question, Senator, you're asking me whether the recommendations in our report will improve transparency in the water market, and yes, our answer to your question is that that's what they're intended to do. That's the big problem or one of the big problems that we think need to be addressed. There are some other issues as well, integrity of some of the mechanisms to ensure that people have confidence in the integrity of the market and the conduct of the players in the market. Making data available more generally in a more consistent way across the whole market so that people can use it for their purposes. There are a whole range of different recommendations that we think will be carefully considered by the implementation panel over the next year or so.
I didn't want to interrupt because it was music to my ears, but specifically what I was after was, is a register of water trades consistent with your report?
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
And either a single register or registers that are compatible and that record data in a consistent way.
But that's a classic example of what's missing, Senator. There's no doubt about that. And that again reflects the way it's evolved and the way it needs very much to improve.
From page 182 of the report, quote, 89% of the volume of all large investor spot allocation purchases and 67% of the volume of all large investor spot allocation sales in the Southern Connected Basin in the 2018-19 water year were attributed to one investor. Can you indicate who that investor was?
I don't think it would be appropriate to do so.
Okay, and that's why we need a register.
Yeah.
But we would know the answer if we had a transparent water register, correct?
Yes.
And so this is just a statement, without a water trading register, shady or crooked operators can hide. And I'm not saying that they're shady or crooked, but someone could.
The difficulty is that we don't know whether there are shady or crooked operators.
Exactly.
But that's the problem. That's the problem. We don't know, and if the market was working with all the normal regimes, then that would make bad behaviour much, much, much harder. So we don't know, but the system opens itself to that.
Opening the cupboard, the cockroaches scatter when the light hits them. Page 185 of your report indicates that in 2018-19, 63 gigalitres of water was traded from above the Barmer choke to below the choke. Is this correct?
There's only 780.
Yeah.
Okay, it is. So
if it's in the report, it's very likely to be correct.
It's correct, right? Thank you.
No, it is correct. If it's
it is correct. Yeah. Okay. Is this figure net or gross? In other words, we know that 63 was traded from above and moved to below the Barmer choke. Was there a corresponding trade moving water from below the choke to above the choke?
That'd be taking the water upstream,
Yes,
and that's a very difficult thing to do.
it is, but
I mean, conceptually, there are ways in which trades can occur where that happens.
but that figure would be
Yeah, I expect it's a gross figure, but it would be pretty close to being a net figure.
Could you?
But we can
Could you
take
get
that on
back
notice.
to us on notice? Thank you. In Senate estimates last Friday, Andrew Reynolds, the Chief Executive Director of the Murray Darling Basin Authority, testified that there was no transfer of water from above to below the choke, since any trade below was matched by a trade back the other way. This is not what your thorough and detailed investigation has found, according to my staff. Is that correct?
Look, I think it's best we take it on.
Yeah.
notice.
Yeah,
Senator,
okay.
We've got the question that we'll certainly get back to you, and we should have the information.
Your data came from voluntary information disclosures. So put simply, the trades you examined were the trades people wanted you to see. Is there a chance that trades were hidden from the ACCC inquiry?
That's not correct, Senator. We use compulsory powers to compel the production of a large amount of the data and the information we received. Some of it we did receive voluntarily from state government agencies, but a very large proportion of it we obtained using compulsory
and that's why
powers.
we could paint a picture that others couldn't, because we had the information gathering powers. That's why we were able to put all the data together in the way we did. Without the powers, the study wouldn't have had the same thoroughness.
Thank you. Moving on to a separate topic now. This is to do with market power. The Commonwealth Bank has announced that they are investing $30 million in e-commerce startup Little Birdie. So far, so good. Now the bit that concerns, the Commonwealth will add the Little Birdie e-commerce portal directly into their banking app. Is the Commonwealth Bank using its market power to grow a business that it has an interest in?
Oh, look, I think, Senator, I don't know if any of my colleagues have a comment, but I mean, the Commonwealth Bank is, I don't know, it's probably got 25% of the home loan market. It's obviously the biggest bank. But in terms of what they're doing, there's a lot of other players in the market. So certainly happy to keep an eye on it, but I think with all else going on in the market, it would be a bit early to call that market power. It's an interesting development. They're trying to match a range of other digital players, fintechs offering various services. So I think we almost see it as an encouraging sign to improve the mix of economic activity. But I accept they're a big player, and when big players do things like that, we have to monitor it carefully.
And I might add, Senator, if you don't mind,
Yeah,
Mr.
no,
Sims, we have a dedicated unit within our agency that focuses on financial services competition issues and actively monitors these sorts of developments and reports to a Financial Services Competition Board. And that, I think, is a very good mechanism for really tracking what's going on in competition in financial services.
Okay, it's just that the banks, as Mr. Sims pointed out, have got enormous power. The four of them have got enormous power, and if they get behind something...
That's a
Well, if
finding.
they all do the same thing, Senator, that's a different
Yes.
matter.
Yeah.
The Commonwealth, as I understand it, it's the Commonwealth Bank on its own
Yes.
making that move. If they all did it collectively, that would be a very different matter, and that could well breach competition laws.
Okay. So, next question. Westpac is now offering private label banking services, Afterpay, as their first customer. Does ASIC have a point at which the banks could be considered to be misusing their market power? You just mentioned one example.
You mentioned ASIC. I think you meant ACCC.
ACCC,
Yes, that's all right. Again, I think fairly early days. I don't know whether my colleagues have I think, it's part of all the rich developments that are going on that we're monitoring very closely.
And there are a number of white label services provided by various banks. Citibank, for example, provides white label credit card facilities. Okay. In a sense, what Westpac is doing is a pro-competitive thing, entering into an activity that enables Afterpay to provide a fuller range of services than it currently does. And we see that as a way for them to become a more viable competitor within the financial services market.
Okay. How about the last question on ACCC? How about Westpac shutting down banking facilities for cash handling companies so that it can direct their retail customers to use one specific cash handling company that they have a financial arrangement with, essentially debanking? Where does this slippery slope end? If we let banks do this, then they will eventually own everything and force companies they don't own out of business.
Look, I'm not aware of that particular issue, Senator. Happy to take that on notice and have a look at that. We certainly are interested in debanking, and we made recommendations about that when we did an inquiry into foreign exchange, because we think there's got to be rules that people can meet so that they can't be debanked in an ad hoc way. So we're very concerned about debanking, but I'm not aware. I don't think we're aware of that.
We are. Sorry, Mr. Sims. We are aware of certain commercial arrangements that have been made that have been having an impact in the cash delivery market. There's a couple of firms that dominate that market, and we've had a close look at some of the arrangements there. It'd be interesting, though, to understand whether you're referring to one of the things that we've looked at, or whether it's a new issue, and that might be best done by taking on notice your question.
Would you like one of my staff to contact you?
Yes, that'd be helpful.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Chair.
Senator Kenneth.